welcome to the launch of my business, The Butterfly, and my first published book, Unmasking Depression. Thank you. Before I get started with the speech, I want to thank, some people. Firstly, I want to thank my family, wherever you are. Family, can you wave, shout, or do a dance? My dad and my mom. I don't know if everyone knows my story, but I was born in the Republic of Georgia, and at the fall of the USSR, there was a civil war that broke out, and my parents, wanting the best opportunity for their children, fled the country, seeking asylum, and they moved countries 4 times, with 2 kids and then 3 kids. So for anyone who's ever moved houses, let alone with kids, try to imagine that. They sacrificed so much for us. They moved far and away from their own families. And Mum and Dad, thank you so much. I am so grateful for you, because without being in Australia and having the education I've had here and the opportunities I've had here, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you. Big round of applause for my parents. Next, I want to thank my brothers, because this wouldn't be possible without my brothers either. So my brother Sasha and my other brother Sergey, wherever you are. Where are you? Oh, over there. Look, you're tall. Why can't I see you? Oh, there you are. Okay, so my brothers are very entrepreneurial, very business-minded, and they're just great. I love them lots, and Sasha's been helping me a lot with this book, because he actually wrote a book himself some 5 years ago called Teens Big Dreams. It's a motivational life skills book for young people. And when he was writing it, it was the other way around. I was helping him edit it and helping him with his launch. And 5 years later, here I am, and he's helping me with the website and the branding. And so I'll explain that further along in the speech. So thank you, Sasha, and thank you, Sergey, as well. Is it pretty cool? And suave. And thank you to all my friends who the past 5 months have been dealing with me, calling up saying, oh my God, I'm so stressed. Oh my God, this happened. Oh my God, Australia post stuffed up this postage thing. This happened and that happened. These property managers, this is happening with that and that. And you've just been so patient with me and so supportive and so encouraging. I couldn't have done it without you. So thank you to you. Thank you to my A team. Where's my team? Yell, dance, here we are. We've got Jonathan, Sasha, we've got Camilla, we've got Kira, we've got Samantha somewhere. And who am I missing? Is that it? Oh yeah, me. Thank you guys. These guys have, I've had coffee meetings with them on Saturday or Sunday morning. Samantha and I would have dinner meetings on a Friday night after I'd come home from my full-time job. And we'd go out at 8, 9 p.m., have dinner, and then come back to my apartment at 11 p.m. and sit down and figure out the itinerary, and we'd be up till 1 a.m. in the morning figuring out what goes there, when is this going to happen, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. So there was that. There were meetings with my brother where oh God, a whole Saturday spent working on this website. There's a funny story with the website, because when I first started using Shopify, and anyone who knows me knows that I'm pretty hopeless all things technology, even though I've got parents who are programmers and grandparents who are scientists. And so over the Easter weekend, I sat for 5 hours literally staring at the computer screen. It was great. Until my brother came and helped me out and saved my life. I've got Kira on videography. I've known Kira since uni. So we go uni days, so she's taking all the videos. And I've got Camilo, who I met last week, and I know him from my brother, as you do. And he's taking all the photos, and so that's my team. And if I've missed anyone, please let me know. So, Huh? Oh, Jonathan. Yeah, Jonathan would meet in the mornings, and actually it's a funny story. You probably all noticed that Jonathan remembered your names as you walked in. So, how amazing is he? A round of applause for Jonathan. That was great. You're amazing. Thank you. So, who's seen Devil Wears Prada? Yeah. remember the scene where they're going to a launch and they've got all the two big guest books and they have to remember all their names? Yeah, I kind of made a guest book and stalked you on Facebook, sort of, maybe. And I created this guest book and gave it to my team, and Jonathan remembered all your names. So that's pretty impressive. Very impressive. Thank you. Also, I want to thank Catherine for being here and representing the Sir David Martin Foundation, who we will be supporting through the auction later on. They help youth in crisis situations. So thank you for being here and coming along. And then I want to thank everyone for being here and everyone for your support and friendship and whatever else you have brought into my life. I wouldn't be the person I am without that. So thank you. Right, so the butterfly. This started, believe it or not, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, it was December, January sometime, so 5 years and 5 months ago. 5 years, 5 months ago, Sasha was having a meeting with some executive at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and he asked, Anna, do you want to come along? I'm like, okay, but I don't want to come to the meeting. I'm going to go to Bondi. And I never understood what the hype was with Bondi Junction. I never got it. Why do people go to Bondi and what's this big rave about Bondi? What is this place? I think I was once there before once, but I didn't recall that memory. So I went to Bondi Junction and I took the train there, and I was standing at the top of the hill, looking out at the view, and I got it. I had an epiphany, and it just clicked to me, I get it, why people go there. They spend the day there, they're rejuvenated, they come home nourished and refreshed and loved and just feeling amazing and then raving about it. And so, being so high on this epiphany, I sat down on the beach and I just couldn't sit still. Most of you who know me know I have a problem with sitting still in general, but I couldn't sit there and read my book. I was reading The Kite Runner by Khalid Hosseini at that time, and looking around, surrounded by people, I just couldn't sit still. I needed to write it all down. And at that time I had those little Nokias, the screen was that big, and the character limit was 1,000 characters. And so I started writing. Wrote up to the character limit, of course, because I'm a writer, and that's what happens. And then I came home and I typed all of that up, and it dawned on me. This is going to be the foreword to my poetry book. Because at that time I was working on compiling a poetry book. And I started thinking of ideas for branding, for a business name. Should it be my name? Should it be my pet name, Anushka? What are the colouring going to be? What's the logo going to be? 5 years, that went on back and forth. It just never gelled, it never seemed right. I wasn't happy with it. It didn't feel right at all. And then, fast forward some 5 years, it's Boxing Day, 26th of December 2014, so just Boxing Day passed. And my intuition is yelling at me, go to Clovelly, go to Clovelly, go to Clovelly. I'm like, okay, fine, I'm going to Clovelly. I give in. It's chilly, it's cloudy, it's overcast, I'm going to Clovelly, great. Get in my car, open road, there's no one on the road, it's a beautiful drive up. And then I get to that intersection where I need to turn left. I know the way, but my intuition again spoke with me and said, oh, you need to turn left here. So I got into the wrong lane, and imagine this scene, if you will. So I'm in this lane, there's a bus stop in front of me, I'm trying to merge right, there's a car that's not letting me in, and my phone starts ringing. That's the last of my worries. So I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Anyway, eventually I ended up merging, it was safe, I turned where I needed to turn, and it was Sasha calling me. So I call him back. He's like, Anna, I just drove past you. What do you mean you just drove past me? And he was living at Coogee at that time, so he had literally driven past me. So we caught up at where he was staying, and then we went to Clovelly. And because it was cold, we didn't swim. But we sat down and we talked about, business and ideas and stuff. And he's like, Anna, I think think it'll be a good idea if you publish your book yourself. It'll be really good for you. And he gave me reasons why. And I listened to him, and then we started discussing, branding and stuff. I'm like, Sasha, I've got a problem with it having my name attached to my brand, because it's not about me. It's about something else, and I don't know what it is about. And then we're sitting there and talking, and it dawned on me. Again, I had another epiphany. The butterfly. The butterfly. I started experimenting with this idea of the butterfly. Now, I'll leave that story there, because that story is going to be finished when I talk about the book. 3 years ago, I moved out of home. And I come from a very tight family. Family is everything in our culture. And, when you leave home, it's hard. It's hard for everyone involved. And so it was the most challenging probably 2 years of my life, living far away from my family, my brothers, my parents. And I was unwell. I wasn't well. Every day, every week, I'd cry. I would think, what is the point of this life? What am I doing here? Like, what was I sent here to do? What's my mission? And I didn't realize what I was going through. I didn't realize that it's not normal. Those thoughts and feelings and emotions are not normal. And I was quite alone at that time. I was living with family friends who had kind of taken me in and given me like a really small room. It was literally probably this big, like a square this big. I was living there for 4 months. I moved out with about $500 in my bank account. And I had a job just tutoring friends, brothers in English. Within 2 weeks, because being me, I'm like, nah, that's it, I need a job, I need to be proactive. Within 2 weeks, I had 4 jobs. So tutoring students all over Sydney, working in a boot store in Burwood, and teaching dance as well. And also studying to become a dance teacher. And 7 days a week I worked for 4 months, and then I finally got a break and I moved out to Guildford, of all places. And I know. And then I moved to Smithfield, and then I moved to Rosehill, where I am now. So that was challenging on its own. Challenging doing that on my own as well. I was in a relationship at that time and I had a friend, but it's very hard on anyone involved when you're going through stuff to let it all out on them. So I did my best to kind of keep a distance and keep some things to myself. One day I started writing, and I write a lot. Everyone who knows me, I write heaps. I keep a private journal since I was, 9 years old. I asked Mum and Dad, can you buy me this little tiny journal? And my first entry was like, oh, I read this much of a book, and it was I drew how much I read of it. So I've kept a journal since, but this was different. I sat down, it was I think May 2012 when I moved out, and I sat down and I wrote, I don't even know what it was, but I wrote it, and it was in one go. It was just it was word regurgitation. And I read it to a friend, and she started crying. She's like, wow, this is really real. A few months passed again, I was in a deep emotional state, and I wrote again. And I physically wrote myself out of that state. It was I was writing, and then by the end of 4 or 5 pages, I'm like, I feel okay now. I can go on with my day. A few months passed by. I went back to uni to finish my degree in communications. And I had a friend at that time, and we were driving. I'm like, oh, Yeshim, I think I'm writing a book. Because I had no idea that I was writing a book because I'm just writing stuff. And she's like, oh yeah, what is it about? I'm like, oh, it's about this and that, it's about depression, and I'm showing different facets of depression, and I think I'm kind of unmasking it. I think I want to call it the mask called depression, because depression is a mask. People wear this happy face, but behind they're suffering. They're going through something no one can see, but they're going through it. And so I'm like, yeah, I want to unravel this, and do this and that. And she's like, oh, why don't you make an unmasking depression? I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. So that's where the title came from my friend's suggestion. And so 2 years after I started writing this book, I wrote myself out of depression. And the final product-ish, because it was edited, is what you'll see later on. The point of this book is to give people hope, because that's all I had at that time. All I had at that time was the hope that tomorrow's going to be different. Tomorrow's going to be better. My favorite day of the week was Monday. I hated the weekends. I couldn't stand the weekends. I would do anything for a weekend to end. I'd do anything for Monday to begin. People thought I was crazy, because most people are the other way around, right? But I had this hope, this undying hope that I'm here to do something, and tomorrow's going to be different. Tomorrow. And eventually today became the tomorrow I was looking for. And the day that I'm standing here, presenting this book to the rest of the world, because over 350 million people worldwide have depression. Now, I'm reading this book by Arianna Huffington at the moment called Thrive, and she's all about redefining success and the third metric of success and the workplace and putting well-being into the GDP, gross domestic something. Product, right, thank you. That's why you have a team. So she's talking about that, and she's writing about depression and the alarming number of people on antidepressants and the amount of people depressed. But why aren't people talking about this? I've had so many people that I've come up to and said, oh yeah, I wrote a book about depression. And they're like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm on antidepressants, or I have anxiety, or I suffer from post-traumatic disorder. And I'm like, I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? And that's the thing, people won't tell you. When I was going through that, do you think I told anyone? No. Do you think I wanted to tell anyone? No. But now I can, and now I can give people the permission to open up to me, or open up to someone else, or open up to a book, or call a friend and say, oh my God, I'm reading this book at the moment, it's like they know me. And that's the whole aim with this book, to give people hope when they have nowhere else to look. Because sometimes the only place you can look is the place that you're not expecting to find the hope. So that's the aim of this book, to hopefully help one person whose life they think is pointless or miserable or completely worthless, to say, yeah, hey, this person did it, I can too. Tomorrow can get better, and it will get better. So the way it all ties back to the butterfly is that, butterflies are very fragile creatures, but they go through this beautiful process called the metamorphosis. They start off as this egg that becomes this larva, that becomes this caterpillar, then this caterpillar munches on things, it's very vulnerable, it's susceptible to predators and birds and flowers and people and everything. And then it then goes through this beautiful thing called the metamorphosis, and it lives caged, alone, in complete darkness in a cocoon. And it has no idea what's going on with it. No idea at all. But it's changing. And it's in darkness. But outside it's light. Outside there's hope. This hope is keeping it warm, And then eventually the process finishes and the caterpillar becomes a beautiful butterfly. And we all have, or will at some stage, go through this metamorphosis, or go through this metamorphosis again and again and again. And that's our potential, and each one of us has this potential. How amazing is that? And we might not know what our purpose is now. We might not know it in 5 or 10 years' time, but eventually it'll come to us. Eventually, God and the universe, and whatever it is you believe in, you'll start hearing these voices and feeling these synchronicities and hearing your intuition yell so loudly at you that you can't ignore it anymore. And you'll be able to follow your heart and get to where it is you need to be at. And that's why the brand is called The Butterfly. And as soon as I ran into Sasha on the 26th of December, I haven't stopped. I literally haven't stopped. Fred's smiling because she knows. I work full time as well, and like I commute about nearly 2 to 2.5 hours a day, and I go into work, I work, I come home, I either cook, or lately I haven't really been cooking. I've been either people have been bringing me food, or I've been eating out, or I've been like spending. I don't know how much money I've spent on food, but it's a lot. And then from 9 o'clock, I sit down and I work, and I've been working till 11, 12, 1, 2 a.m. some nights, especially the last month, finalizing everything. So it's been 5 months in the making. So everything you see now, like the final product of the book, the cards, the logo, the branding, the website, everything has been 5 months, but it's actually been 5 years, because I've had so many jobs these past 5 years. I've met so many people. I've been stretched to limits I didn't even know I could take, and leaping off cliffs I didn't even know I could fly off. But without that, without all those people, without all those reasons and seasons and beautiful moments, I wouldn't be here, and the book and everything that I've accomplished wouldn't be what it is now. So that's that. I would like to officially say that I've launched The Butterfly and Unmasking Depression to the world.